Ladies and gentlemen, everyone around and in between, it is DebateSensei NPDA edition. This is where we talk about things relevant to competitive debate, specifically the NPDA, National Parliamentary Debate Association. I have resident expert Gabe Gravel from SDSU.
Good to see you.
All right, excellent. So we're talking, we're going to do a recap of the Steve Hunt Classic that just happened this last weekend. So let's start off. What is the Steve Hunt Classic? Why is it so important?
The Steve Hunt Classic is a NPDA tournament. It's actually, they offer all sorts of events, including other forms of debate and IEs. It's hosted in Portland, Oregon, at the Lewis and Clark College campus. It's a big tournament because, specifically for NPDA, more historically, because Lewis and Clark used to have a very large, prominent team in the Pacific Northwest region. Despite not having an NPDA program anymore, they still run an NPDA tournament, which draws a lot of competitors from all over. And with especially Whitman being such a prominent school currently, it is sort of their most local tournament, being up in Walla Walla, Washington.
Okay.
I don't believe that Whitman runs their own tournament as of right now, so it is sort of the local tournament for them.
Okay. And it seemed like there was a fairly good draw. If you are breaking to partial aux, I didn't see what the entry was. How many entries overall? Let's do open, but let's take a peek at some of the other divisions too, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, so there was 18 entries in open parley debate.
Okay.
Which is pretty good. It's not as big as the Rice tournament, but it is a pretty good draw for something that is so out of region for so many teams. And we did also see teams come all the way from like Tulane and Utah, which is really great for the program.
Yeah, excellent. University of Utah. I love that. Okay. All right. And so were there any differences in the breaks? Were there any is there any sort of new blood that's kind of breaking into out rounds out of the pack that broke?
Yeah. So we had 11 teams break to a partial octos, which is pretty good. It's more than half of the field, which just means that people were doing a lot of winning.
Yeah.
Notably, I saw that Utah broke a team and Tulane broke a team. Utah used to have a much more prominent NPDA program. In fact, my first nationals was at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. In recent years, especially with the pandemic, and I think that there was maybe an administrative change of hands, they've had they haven't been as present recently. They've fielded some teams, but they haven't consistently had an NPDA program. So it's really great to see them not only travel out to the tournament, but also do well enough to break.
Yeah.
I haven't specifically seen this team before. I heard good things from the people I do know that were at the tournament, that they were impressed by the Utah team. I think they have some smart coaching staff over there, and it was really a good showing from that program.
So it looks like that is Guzman and Santillan?
No, that's the Pacific team. Speechwire is a little weird. They just say University of.
Right. I'm trying to find the oh, and is it Waitrin and Felix, or is it?
Yeah, it's Waitrin and Felix.
Oh man, yeah. There's no way of distinguishing the two. Okay, I see. All right. Well, excellent. Oh, they even moved on to. Oh no, they bide. Okay, I see.
Yeah, they bide through to quarters. The other team that's notable is Tulane. I did see Tulane at NPDA last year. I didn't watch any of their rounds, but they were around. That's a team that really I don't know a whole lot about. I didn't compete against really any Tulane teams during my time. So it's really great to see not only people in that part of the country committed to NPDA and committed to an extent that they're willing to travel as far as Portland, Oregon to compete, as well as do well at the tournament.
All right, excellent. Oh, and I should mention that the University of Utah team, Waitrin and Felix, they were second ranked. So that is great. Excellent. But yeah, and so Fairchild and Jin from Tulane. Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's move on to the biggest break. And that's definitely Rice. Wasn't that Am I remembering that was what the previous tournament results were too?
Yeah, that was also the case at the Rice tournament. They did break quite a few of their teams, and they once again broke most of their teams in the bottom part of the bracket, which isn't a problem. Breaking's breaking, but
Well, got a 4. I'm looking at a 4 there. Yeah. Okay. So both those. Yeah.
They were in every single octofinal round, which the partial octofinal rounds are the teams that are at the bottom of the bracket to kind of determine the lower end of the bracket once you get into quarterfinals. So they were in all 3 of the octofinal rounds that happened, which is a pretty good showing. They did have another team towards the top of the bracket, which is also great, but really just sort of same expected success from the Rice team, where they have a large number of consistently good, capable of winning teams.
That is a lot of fun too. I can imagine the practices would be fun in those ones, having resources like that, and to kind of run some off the wall stuff, some new stuff, get some expert feedback and refutation. You know what I mean? Actually trying it out. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Oh yeah, I mean they have a very good coaching staff as well.
It kind of reminds me of Long Beach back in the day. Like I think we were kind of like that. We were breaking 4 or 5 teams at tournaments. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, when I competed, it was Western Washington doing that.
Oh yeah, that was doing that. Okay.
Yeah, we used to have to hit like 5 Western Washington teams in a row sometimes.
Oh yeah, right. Okay. Of course, you have to acknowledge Berkeley, right? Parliamentary debate at Berkeley.
Berkeley also broke both of their teams. They brought the same 2 teams that they brought to Rice. I believe Brenna and Tristan, SK, were also at the top of the Elam bracket. They were second in the Elam bracket at Rice.
And they're first
continuing to do very well. I don't believe they lost a round in prelims at this tournament, which is great for them. And then they also broke their other team, BC. They were co-champions at the NPTE last year, despite the NPT being pretty small. They were the team that closed out with SK, and they're a great team. They
Banerjee and Carrillo. Okay. Yep. I see Banerjee and Carrillo. Yeah. And both those teams made it to SEMS, so that is impressive. One of them bide through to quarters. All right, excellent. And then that leaves Whitman, the big ones, right? And that rounds out everyone who broke.
There's also University of the Pacific.
Pacific. Okay, tell me about University of Pacific. Man, they used to break multiple teams when I was doing it.
Yeah, Pacific is they're a very stable factor in NPDA. They've always had a very consistent program, I think. They used to have some very, very good teams, especially when I was like a freshman, and then a couple of the years before I started debating. They're very well coached, I believe. I think that they do a good job of getting everybody up to like competitive and ready at a very consistent rate. It feels like I see different Pacific debaters every year, and they're always, taking these people who I have no idea what their debate experience is, and they're getting them to a proficient level at NPDA. They are a team that I believe focuses a bit more on their local circuit more than they focus on national stuff. That's not to say they don't compete at national stuff. They certainly do. But they're a lot more engaged in like the Northern California circuit, at least from my recollection of when I was competing against them, which, is great. They're very involved with all the community colleges around them. I know a lot of people transfer to Pacific from those community colleges. They are an institution in NPDA at this point.
All right. That's awesome. Oh, senior parlay. There we go. I'm looking at the results in other ways. Okay, we buy through. All right. Was there and that leaves Whitman, right?
Yeah, and that leaves Whitman. Whitman also brought the same 2 teams that they brought to Rice. Whitman LM and Whitman GM. Both of these are the same 2 teams that closed out Rice, and they did very well for themselves at the prelims and at this tournament in general.
3rd and 5th. Yeah. So Lou and Moulton are third, and Gretchiskin and Matthew. Okay, we're fifth. All right, nice. I hope I got that right. I was really trying to. Okay. You know what the topic was? Do you remember that at all?
For the octofinal round?
Octofinals, yeah.
Yeah, it was if I have it in front of me, the Lao People's Democratic Republic should substantially curtail its usage of hydropower.
Okay, wait, say it again.
The Lao People's Democratic Republic, so
okay.
the government in Laos,
Yeah.
should substantially curtail its usage of hydropower.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not super sure. I didn't do any research on this topic.
Yeah.
I imagine that there's probably some issue that's been in the news recently about some dam or building a dam that this is probably related to.
All right.
I'm not really sure though.
No biggie. I wonder how the breakdown went on AF or neg wins. If anyone did an analysis on that, it might be a little bit too much to do it right now.
We did see. No, it looks like they didn't publish AF neg breakdown for out rounds, but in general, the tournament actually had a almost 50% split with 33 total AF wins and 32 total neg wins in prelims. So,
okay,
it was a pretty good tournament, all things considered, I think.
Yeah. All right, so we are in quarterfinal rounds, and we've had people at the top of the bracket buy through the partial aux, and the people that are buying through is Berkeley SK, Rice TY, Utah WF, right? That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Whitman LM. Got it.
And Whitman GM.
Oh, and Whitman GM. Did I miss that one?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Oh, they both buyed. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so Whitman is hitting Rice teams. Rice has 3 out of its 4 teams that broke.
Yeah. So Rice won 2 out of the 3 octofinal rounds.
Okay.
So Rice eliminated Pacific and Tulane from the bracket, and then the other Rice team lost to the Berkeley team that was in the octofinal rounds. So 3 out of the 4 quarterfinal rounds have Rice again. Again, this is very similar to how the Rice tournament broke down.
Right.
Other than Rice, notably, we have Utah, Berkeley, and Whitman.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I mean, let's start with. Okay, so so we don't know who's on what side. That sucks.
Oh, we do.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, if you look at the postings, we can see, or I can just let you know.
Okay.
Utah was AF against Berkeley, BC.
How did that one go down? It looks like so Berkeley picked that one. They were in Berkeley. Oh, what's the topic first?
The topic is the Supreme Court of the United States should overturn its decision in Village of Euclid versus Ambler Realty Company.
Oh my God.
So that topic, that decision, Village of Euclid versus Ambler Realty, is like a landmark decision regarding city zoning laws.
Okay.
The facts of the case, I guess, are that Ambler Realty owned a whole bunch of land all around this village. This village, in order to sort of stop the urban sprawl of Cleveland, which it was near, decided to implement zoning laws, and the realty company decided to sue the city or the village over their zoning laws, saying that it was an infringement of their property rights. Essentially, the court ruled that while they had the right to sue, that it wasn't unconstitutional to limit land use in that way. And this sort of has framed the history of zoning issues in the United States. Since then, zoning wasn't really like a common practice prior to this, but when municipalities realized they were able to zone in certain ways, they did so. I do think this is a bit of a weird topic because there aren't any like specific test cases that are trying to overturn this. And it's also very difficult to predict what exactly happens when we overturn this, because there would probably be further litigation of other people trying to do new things and trying to get specific zoning laws overturned, right? So like a
Mhm.
test case would probably challenge specific zoning laws, and then overturning that decision through a test case would like result in overturning zoning laws in an area. But because we don't know where it would happen, it's not like it would just all of a sudden all zoning laws would go away. It's very like speculative as a
Okay.
topic.
Okay. Well, like, yeah, I know what you mean about how you don't know what the outcomes would be. But in some way, it kind of makes you rethink how to debate on a topic like this on a bigger picture, where it's
Mhm.
not really like maybe it's not a discussion about that, but a little bit more about it's more it locates itself in like as a precursor to that next step before we even look at for a case. Should we even pursue overturning this law? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so I think I don't know. I have this thing about like framing debates, using criteria to really frame debates in order to really highlight what the discussion is. Then I'm like, oh, that would be kind of a good one. If you had a little extra time, though, 20 minutes might be a little bit of a crunch.
Yeah, that is sort of. I mean, that's how I feel about this topic. If this was a
Right.
topic of the tournament and we had like a
Yeah.
month to prepare this, I think it could be really good. I mean, I
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
there is
Yeah.
a lot of really interesting ground, right? Like
I
zoning
totally agree.
laws have greatly influenced just what it's like to live in a municipality. I think that the economic argument goes both ways, right? Certainly, businesses would love to be able to build wherever, but also homeowners and realtors probably wouldn't want you to be able to build a factory in any part of the city. So I
Right.
think it's a very nuanced issue with a lot of research. I think that it's hard to do this topic justice in NPDA.
So we have what we had. Let's talk about Berkeley, SK, Rice,
Yeah,
RS. Wait,
so
no,
we
no.
had we
Yeah.
had Berkeley SK on the AF against Rice RS,
Okay.
and then Rice TY against Whitman GM, and Rice SW versus Whitman LM, and then obviously also Utah W
Right.
versus the other Berkeley team.
So let's deal with Rice first. They got knocked out. Were they all AF? Were like, do you know what the breakdown was just between the Rice teams? Or I mean,
Uh,
Berkeley
so
was AF.
there was two or there's two Rice AF teams, one Rice Neg team. The
Okay.
Rice team on the Neg ended up losing to Berkeley SK.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened in that round.
Right.
If
No,
I
it's
was a
cool.
gambling man, I would say they rejected the topic, but I'm not sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just based on what I know of that team. The Whitman teams, not sure what they did. I think that there is maybe unfortunately a uh, instinct in Parley to sort of reject any topic that you don't immediately know what the AFNEG ground is
Right.
within 5 minutes of prep time. It makes sense from a strategic standpoint. If you have to spend 10 minutes of your prep just figuring out what the topic is, you're starting from behind.
Right.
But I would guess there was probably a decent amount of rejection of the topic in this round.
Okay. Okay. But that didn't work out for the Rice teams, huh?
Did not work out for the Rice teams on the AF. They both lost to both Whitman teams and the one Berkeley team, and then Utah was not able to stave off the other Berkeley team.
Right. Was Utah on the AF?
Utah was also on the AF.
All right. So both Berkeley teams were neg and were able to get through on that one. Interesting. Okay.
No, one of the Berkeley teams was AF.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Against Rice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so we have Berkeley Whitman.
Yeah, this is a exact repeat of the last tournament. I don't remember if Whitman LM and Berkeley BC were on the same sides as they were, but I do know that SK and GM were on the same sides that they
Oh,
are in
okay.
this tournament. And I do know that none of these teams defended the topic in this round.
All
The
right.
topic
What
was
was it?
interesting. The topic was the United Mexican States should repeal the 2023 Corn Decree establishing various actions regarding glyphosate and genetically modified corn.
Oh, was that
Um,
Monsanto?
yeah, essentially, Mexico banned. They continue to ban the use of like genetically modified corn for human consumption. This specific decree did allow its use in like non-food applications as well as like animal feed applications, so we can give our cows and pigs GMO corn. But this has gotten a lot of flack from specifically U.S. policymakers because we want to sell Mexico our GMO corn. Mexico's pretty steadfast on this. This is an interesting topic, but I
So,
also think,
so is repealing that? Wait, would that, if that thing allows it, would repealing it disallow it, or am I misunderstanding this?
yeah, it is a little unclear, and I think you could actually debate this. But the corn decree in 2023 is, I believe, like an extension of a ban that was supposed to go through 2020. So
Okay.
it maintains that they ban GMO corn, but it
Okay.
also allows GMO corn for non-food applications.
Right. So this would, okay.
So doing the AF would, I think, allow immediately GMO corn for human consumption in Mexico.
Okay. Yeah, I was just trying to make sure I'm on the right side of this one. I'm like, okay, like you,
It is confusing.
I understand I'm on the prosecution, but what does that mean?
Mhm.
All right, cool. So allowing GMO corn into Mexico. Okay, so the affirmative, I'm just reading off the thing, but Berkeley is on the AF for both of these.
No, they're on the AF and the neg. SK is
AF
on the
and
AF.
the neg. Okay,
BC is on the neg.
and so both AFs reject
Yes.
the topic. Okay. Well,
Yes.
we got a little bit of time. Do you know the arguments that they used for this?
Yeah, I do. So we can start with Whitman
Mhm.
on the AF. Jazz and Casey. I know that they read a deep ecology shell.
Okay.
I don't know any of the specific texts within their deep ecology shell, or like how specific of how specific to the literature base they're being. I've only heard other deep ecology shells and done some of the reading myself.
Fair enough.
But deep ecology is sort of a more radical branch off of like other anthropocentrism literature. It
Mhm.
essentially challenges any sort of philosophical, ontological, epistemological framing that frames the non that frames humans as distinct from non-human animals.
Mhm.
So while like an anthropocentrism critique might go in this direction and say that we need to embrace the non-human at the same level as the human, deep ecology takes it one step further and argues that there is like zero ecological distinction, that we are like acting within the ecology just as animals act within ecology, and that we need to like have a more symbiotic relationship with ecology. Specifically, it criticizes other forms of ecological movements that it calls shallow ecology. So, like
Mhm.
something that's just like consumer veganism, where you don't eat animal products, but maybe you still like interact within the environment as like a human, right? Creating ecological harm through your use of petroleum or whatever. That's like kind of a shallow form of ecology that doesn't rupture our fundamental relationship with the natural and in that unnatural world.
Okay. So what does signing the ballot mean? I guess like
The, I don't know what they read on their shell,
okay.
but I would imagine it's something along the lines of embracing a deep ecological perspective and attempting to like get rid of the distinctions between what we consider like natural and unnatural, and in turn producing a more like mutualistic relationship with our environment.
All right, and I don't want to cross-examine, but where does genetically modified corn fit into that? Does that mean we should trade it with Mexico or we shouldn't? I don't know.
Well, I don't know what stance they took in this round.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're just flat rejecting the topic, you could just say it doesn't matter. That's why we say the topic's bad. If you're being a little more specific, you would say that the AF is forced to allow genetically modified agricultural practices, and you would say that agricultural practices in general, especially genetically modified ones, are like ecologically engineered in such a way that makes more distinct our separation from ecology generally, and is also bad for the environment. So therefore, we shouldn't have to advocate for this topic because it doesn't allow us to be deep ecologists or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a interesting literature base that is picking up a little bit of steam on the circuit. I'm not the biggest fan of the argument, to be honest, just the literature base in general. I think that, anthro is a big argument already, and I think people just kind of want to spice it up a little bit by calling it something different.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so that was. Now, do you know what the response was?
Yeah, Berkeley read framework against this, and I don't think they were able to convince the judges that they should have been topical.
Okay. All right, so in the other round, Berkeley's on the AF.
Yeah, this was almost 1-for-1 repeat of the Rice round, in which Berkeley read their sort of occultism Marxist position. They did have some notable changes to their alternative text. Specifically, they said instead of like embracing the occult, it was about engaging in the magical world. However, it was largely the same sort of argument, just with a less of a focus on, I guess, being occult.
Okay, a magical world. Man, I hope they had new literature that they're reading. I don't know. Are they just playing with taglines, or I mean, is this?
It was more than that. I'm being a little reductive. I didn't see the shell.
Yeah.
I do know that they updated it. Right. It's the same sort of literature base. It's that they added new arguments or new ways to deploy the arguments in the shell in between these tournaments.
Okay. And that was not compelling. Do you know what Whitman said in response?
Yeah, so just as this Whitman team said in the last round on this topic, the last semifinal round at Rice, in that round, Whitman said that you must specify what type of occultism you defend. In this round, because now Berkeley was not saying occultism, they were saying engaging in the magical realm. Whitman said you must specify how you engage in the magical world. So
which magical realm?
Yeah. So just as Berkeley changed their verbiage, Whitman also changed their verbiage on essentially the same position.
I mean, people could start bringing in like, the Marvel characters and stuff like that, and the different magical realms and stuff.
I think magic, how you engage in the magical world, is, I think, less compelling than specifying what type of occult, because I feel like magical world is more of a phrase that is being like operationalized by the AF in a specific way, where like occult means a whole bunch of different things to a bunch of different people. So I initially, when I heard that, thought it would be less compelling, but I guess that it wasn't less compelling, with both Whitman teams in both rounds picking up on this topic.
All right, and so that results in another closeout. Whitman, that's congratulations to them. The thing I'm worried about is enough variety and diversity in this group, man. Like if we're getting to like two near identical tournaments right off the bat.
Yeah, definitely. Interesting that there is this so much similarity between these two tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I do think that is generally you see probably the same 5 teams towards the
Right.
top of every tournament in a season. The fact that we're seeing 4 teams from 2 schools is kind of uncharacteristic,
Mm-hmm.
especially considering that this is 2 closeouts in a row.
Right.
Closeouts aren't that common generally, and it is pretty interesting that Whitman keeps getting it done.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that is a good place to leave it. I think that I'm really motivated to try to get some more people involved in Parley debate. At least getting them to travel to these places, right? Man, were there some other? What were some other teams that weren't able to break in the senior level? Do you know any of them?
Well, we did send one of our teams, STSU. We were 1 round away from breaking. It was a
Ah,
heartbreaker. I won't relitigate what happened there. There was a lot of fired up emotions coming out of our
okay.
prep room after that happened. Um, Other than that, though,
Yeah.
everybody else was able to, other than St. Mary's, was able to break a team,
Okay.
um, which is a good amount of diversity. I will say, despite the end of these tournaments both kind of resulting in the same thing, we did see a nice amount of diversity in the octofinal and quarterfinal rounds, especially with Utah and Tulane breaking. I think
Yeah.
that's really wonderful, and
Yeah.
I hope that those 2 teams keep showing up and keep crushing it.
All right. Excellent. All right. So that's a good place to leave it. We'll be back to talk about tournaments and topics in the next episode. All right. Thank you very much.